Hey guys, Happy New Year. Really quickly, I want to talk to you about something before I shoot off and go work out. Lately, I've been really trying to find the correct camera angle, and not so much the correct camera angle, but the correct camera zoom in proper location or distance at which I should be sitting, so that I don't get so much facial distortion and my body dysmorphia doesn't keep creeping up. But without further ado, let's dive right into this chat. We're going to be talking about amino acids and proteins in terms of satiation with your food intake. So a lot of you individuals might be gathering your nutrition information from a source like MyPlate, which is government distributed. Usually we're not going to dive into conspiracy theories here, but if you're getting your information from the government, usually it's skewed towards the bottom half of the population, and it's usually recommendations for the bare minimum of survival. Okay, so with that out of the way, if you're using MyPlate as a source for information, or any government website as a source for information in regard to proper health and wellness, and within that umbrella is proper nutrition, then maybe you might want to do some research for yourself and dive into that PubMed archive or the NIH. Type in for yourself, hey, what does each food group do? What does each food group entail as far as inflammation or longevity goes? Anyways, we're emphasizing the idea of protein, just like we have in the last two videos. Protein, and more specifically amino acids, are important for not just neurotransmitter function, but they also serve as pseudo neuromodulators to help your body function. And I think that's really understated, because protein is usually thought about in regard to muscle synthesis, in opposition to the layman's idea of protein in regard to muscle synthesis. There are also these proteins, which are broken down to amino acids, are also precursors to neurotransmitters such as dopamine, serotonin. We talked about that in the last video, where I named off all 20 of the amino acids and what their functions do. Now, you could do like a 20-minute video on each individual amino acid and give their geometric structures and talk about and dive into the organic chemistry and biochemistry of it all. But I have not taken those classes, so I don't feel too particularly comfortable talking about those topics and diving into those rabbit holes. But maybe in the future we could definitely do that, especially if we have diagrams. I start utilizing maybe like a PowerPoint style of teaching method. Definitely want to get up here and draw some more pictures out, like I have in the community feed. But anyways, if you go check out my Substack that's linked in the bio, you can find all this information that I'm gathering for myself to then post onto these videos. So, protein, amino acids, and satiation. How do all three of these work out? How do all three of these work together? And how can you implement this into your day-to-day life? Well, just remember that we can look at we can find out what amino acid profiles are if your supplement or if your food contains them, but usually they don't, and which is really unfortunate. But you can usually make the assumption that the food has a well-rounded, complete amino acid profile if it's a red meat or a lean meat. I think we could be lenient on the types of meat, but let's really emphasize red meat. Let's emphasize eggs. Let's emphasize milk, and let's emphasize quinoa and soybeans. Those are your 5 foods. They're not, it's sort of a food group, but those are your 5 foods that you're going to be getting the most bang for your buck in regard to amino acid intake. Now, within the protein are the particular amino acids that garner satiation. Those are arginine. Remember, arginine was a precursor to nitric oxide, and like we've talked about on this channel for like the last, 3 months, is nitric oxide is an important neuromodulator that allows for vasodilation. And vasodilation is a key component to cardiovascular health, immune function, and overall well-being, especially dropping into that parasympathetic nervous state in opposition to hanging out in the sympathetic. You're not resting, you're not digesting if you are not in a parasympathetic tone. Now that that's out of the way, we have tryptophan. Tryptophan is the precursor to serotonin. Serotonin, while it modulates mood, also modulates for fullness in satiety. Leucine. What I've heard about leucine, from what I've heard about leucine, is that based on the amount of leucine that's in your particular protein determines the quality of the protein. I think that's true for all essential amino acids probably, and it's not just true for leucine. But leucine definitely helps with garnering satiation. Last but not least, we have arginine, we have tryptophan, we have leucine, and last, I can't remember the fourth. I might tag it in the description. This is just the unscripted video. If it doesn't come to mind. But yeah, I just wanted to get that out of the way. If you're not eating red meats, if you're not eating eggs, if you're not drinking milk, or intaking soybeans or quinoa, I don't even know what quinoa is, but you could Quinoa. You can find those foods at the grocery store that you go to. You might have to commute a little bit farther away to a nicer Whole Foods or something, but those are the foods. And if you want to be satiated after your meals, make sure you're combining your carbohydrate intake and your fat intake with proper protein, with a proper protein amount. If you're not doing that, you're just going to keep eating your bag of chips. Newsflash. So hit a protein shake right before you start eating your chips, or I think you could be very, very liberal about how much protein that you're willing to intake. And I think you should just attach it to every single meal. I don't think any harm will be found. And last, glutamate. Or glutamine. Glutamate is found in flavors that contain in flavors that are umami. That's a very satiating flavor, but remember, glutamate was a very important excitatory neurotransmitter, and maybe it's glutamine. I can't remember, but yeah, thank you so much, guys. This is Science for the Uninitiated, and make sure you're taking the proper amount of protein every single day. It's bigger than muscle synthesis. It's larger than that. It's your society. It's your satiety. It's your neurotransmitter function. It helps garner your nervous system. It helps you switch from sympathetic to parasympathetic. It helps you create nitric oxide. It's not just about building muscle. It's not. Individuals who have high intakes of protein, who are physically active, are much better off and much more healthy than individuals who are not intaking these things. We can dive deeper into the molecular data, especially when I get my script. But thank you so much for listening. I'm Joshua. Thank you for listening to Science for the Uninitiated.